Imagine being 6 years old, wearing a potato sack as a dress, going to school barefoot, not because it was a choice but because there was nothing else. Now imagine that same little girl being told by the adults around her, the people who were supposed to believe in her, that she would never ever amount to anything. What would you do with that? Would you believe them? Because she didn't. And today, that little girl is worth nearly $3 billion. And more importantly, she changed the lives of millions of people around the world who never thought anyone was watching out for them either. This is the story of Oprah Winfrey, but not the version you already know. Not the talk show. Not the magazine. Not the Forbes list. This is the story that happened before any of that. The story that most people skip over because it's too painful to sit with. Oprah was born on January 29, 1954, in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, one of the poorest counties in one of the poorest states in America. Her mother, Vernita Lee, was an 18-year-old housemaid. Her father, Vernon Winfrey, was a soldier stationed hundreds of miles away. They were not together. They were barely acquaintances. And so Oprah's first years of life were spent with her maternal grandmother, Hattie Mae Lee, in a home so poor that Oprah wore dresses made from burlap potato sacks. She had no toys. She had no running water. She had no idea what the word opportunity meant, because nothing around her had ever used it in the same sentence as her name. But her grandmother did one thing that would quietly change everything. She taught Oprah to read, before she was even 3 years old. And once Oprah could read, once she discovered that books were doors, nothing could close them again. At age 6, Oprah was sent to live with her mother in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It should have been a fresh start. It wasn't. Her mother worked long hours and had little time or patience for a daughter she hadn't planned for. The home was crowded. The environment was unstable. And then, beginning at age 9, something happened that Oprah wouldn't speak about publicly for decades. She was sexually abused by a cousin, then by an uncle, then by a family friend. It went on for years. She told no one because she believed, as so many children in that situation do, that somehow it was her fault. 13, she ran away from home. At 14, she was pregnant. The baby boy was born prematurely and died shortly after birth. Oprah was a teenager, grieving in silence, with no support system, no safety net, and no reason yet to believe that her story could end any other way than in tragedy. It was around this time that people, adults, people with authority, began saying it out loud. She's not going anywhere. She's too far gone. She'll never amount to anything. Her father saved her life. Not metaphorically, almost literally. Vernon Winfrey had moved to Nashville. He took Oprah in when she was 14 years old, after the pregnancy, after the chaos, and he ran a strict household. Rules, structure, curfew, books. He required her to read 1 book a week and write a book report on it. He would not let her leave the house until her homework was done. Oprah later said she hated it at the time. She loves him for it now. In Nashville, something started to emerge. The girl who had been told she'd never amount to anything began to speak, and people stopped what they were doing to listen. She joined the speech and drama team at East Nashville High School. She won a contest, then another. A local radio station noticed her voice and gave her a part-time job reading the news, while she was still in high school. She was 16 years old, and she was being paid to be heard. She won a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. She studied communication, and in 1976, at just 22 years old, she became the first black female news anchor in Nashville at WLAC-TV. The same girl in the potato sack dress was now on television. But even then, Oprah faced resistance. She was told she was too emotional for news, that she got too personally involved in stories, that a journalist was supposed to stay detached, and Oprah simply couldn't do it. She felt everything. She connected with everyone. What her critics called a weakness turned out to be her greatest superpower. She was moved to a low-rated morning talk show in Chicago in 1984, what most people in television would consider a demotion. Within 1 month, the show went from last place to first place in its time slot. Within a year, it was syndicated nationally. Within 3 years, it was the highest-rated talk show in television history. The Oprah Winfrey Show ran for 25 years. 25 years. It aired in 148 countries. It made her the first black female billionaire in history. She didn't just have a platform. She was the platform. She used that platform to talk about things no one on daytime television had ever dared to discuss. Abuse, addiction, racism, trauma, weight, faith, grief. She shared her own story, including the abuse, including the pregnancy she'd hidden for years, because she understood that when you tell the truth about your pain, you give other people permission to survive theirs. So here's what I want you to sit with for just a moment. Every person who told Oprah she'd never amount to anything, every teacher who underestimated her, every adult who dismissed her, every system that failed her, they weren't evil. Most of them were just looking at the circumstances. They saw the poverty. They saw the trauma. They saw the statistics. And they made a prediction based on what they could see. But they couldn't see what was inside her. They couldn't see the hunger to be heard, the refusal to be silenced, the quiet, stubborn belief, even when she had no evidence for it, that her life was supposed to mean something. You might be in a season right now where someone has written you off. Maybe it's a person in your life. Maybe it's a system. Maybe, and this is the hardest one, maybe it's the voice inside your own head that has started to agree with them. Oprah's story doesn't just inspire us. It challenges us. It asks, what are you doing with the doubts that have been placed on you? Are you carrying them like a sentence, or are you using them like fuel? Because the little girl in the potato sack dress didn't succeed in spite of her story. She succeeded through it. She took every single wound and turned it into a bridge for someone else who was drowning in the same waters. That's not just success. That's a legacy. Oprah Winfrey was told she'd never amount to anything. She became one of the most influential human beings who has ever lived. The question was never about what the world thought of her. The question was always about what she believed about herself and what she chose to do next. The same question is in front of you, right now, today. If the story moved you, if somewhere in it you recognized yourself, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. Because every week on this channel, we find the real stories behind real success. The ones that don't start with easy and don't end with perfect. They end with worth it.